Hey guys, today's going to be a life lesson slash motivational video. No mortgage talk today. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the story. Hey guys, welcome to video 27. Today we're going to be talking about priorities. As anybody can know, I am a diehard Texas A&M fan, as evidenced through my shirt. And only a couple weeks ago now, the Aggies and the LSU Tigers had an iconic 7 overtime game where the Aggies pulled it out with by converting a 2-point conversion after the seventh overtime. I was actually at that game, only I didn't stay, I left early. And the following is the story of how that came about and what I learned through that. All right, guys, 2 things on the back side of this story that you need to know first. My family and I have had season tickets to Aggie games for a long time, and we go almost every Saturday that they have a home game. The second thing you need to know is that since mid-October, we've been hosting an event at our house every other weekend, and it takes a lot of preparation for a lot of people to come over. So with those 2 things in mind, let me tell you how the Saturday that will forever be burned into my memory, how that went down. The night before, Amanda and I, my wife and I, were talking about the game, and she and our youngest son were feeling kind of under the weather, so they weren't planning on going. And so I was going to take the older 2 kids. Well, we had that event the next day on Sunday. So she said, hey, just so that you're fresh and that our kids are fresh and not cranky, would you make sure that you're home at a decent hour? And I said, no problem, that's totally fine. And so I told her, I said, we'll leave the game about 9:30, which puts us back home about midnight. The kids will sleep on the way home. I won't be too tired to drive. Everything will be fine. And I'll come home at 9:30. So that's what we had decided. The next day, we get to College Station. We do our normal deal. We get there a little early, try to make band step off. We miss it just by a little bit. Connect with some friends that also have season tickets that we see every week. Just say hello to them. My parents also have tickets, and so we meet them inside the stadium. And it's game time. We are ready to kick off, and the Aggies come down and they start to put on a show. And so they start to beat LSU. LSU comes back. And then about the 3rd quarter, I start checking my watch. I'm like, man. I was hoping we'd get a little bit further in the game before 9:30 hit, but you know, it's a good game. We're winning by a touchdown at this point. It's like, okay, that's okay. We're doing good. We're doing good. And about 9:20-ish, Ags fumble, LSU recovers, score a touchdown. We're tied. And it's like 9:25. And I said to myself at that point, I said, I have a decision to make. I can either honor the commitment that I made to my wife and come home so that I would be fresh and ready to help the next morning getting our house ready for the event, and our kids wouldn't be crabby, and all these different reasons that we had already prior discussed, or I could stay because the Ags are tied against LSU, which we haven't won against them in a long time. This is a football game, and I love football, and I love the Aggies, and so I had a decision to make then. And luckily, I begrudgingly left the football game at 9:30. No one could have known that this game was going to go to 7 overtimes and make college football history, and in the process, Texas A&M football history. So I'm not trying to blame anyone for this situation. It's just the story as it unfolded. So we leave. It's a tie game in the 4th quarter against LSU. And I walk out of the stadium with my 2 kids, headed to the house. I said, that's fine. It'll probably go to an overtime. I'll listen to the game. It'll be just fine. So we walk to the car. We get in. We get buckled. We head out, and we head to our gas station spot, which is where we get our drinks and our snacks for the ride home so that we don't fall asleep. And then we fill up with gas. And while we're there, I have the radio on, and I hear the announcer say, and it's intercepted. Oh, I was mad. I turned the car off. I hit the button from the radio, and I was just mad. And I was like, that's it. So I go into the gas station. I get a drink and a snack, and I get some stuff for the kids. They came with me. Okay, I didn't leave my kids in the car. And I come back out, and I turn the radio on to find some Christmas music to cheer myself up from the loss that I just heard on the radio. And then I hear, and this is the Ags' last play from scrimmage, and they have to. It's all or nothing right now. They have to have a touchdown. I'm like, wait a minute, what? How did we get here? And all of a sudden they scored a touchdown. It's like, oh, we're going into overtime. Da, 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 da. It's amazing. It's awesome. At this point, we are headed home, and we're going into overtime. And as the story goes, as you can imagine, we go through 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, and I'm like, oh my gosh, why am I not there? And I'm getting increasingly more anxious and angry almost that I wasn't at this football game. Saying those things out loud right now makes me feel a little bit childish, but it was how I felt at the time. Long story short, I listened to the game from College Station all the way to Hillsboro, which is another like 2 hours. I listened to the game, we win the game, I go nuts in the car, try not to wake up my kids, and then I have the rest of this 30-minute drive home to contemplate the fact that I just walked away from Texas A&M football history. I could have been there, and I wasn't. And I was going to have to tell the story for the rest of my life that, yes, I was at the game, yes, it was an awesome game, but I left early. All right, Ryan, cool story, but what's your point? Well, as I was talking and telling this story to a close friend of mine, because I was a little bit too embarrassed to tell anybody else, because he called and was like, oh man, did you see that? That game was awesome. And I was like, yeah, I left early. He said, you know, better that you were a good husband and a bad Aggie than the other way around. I was glad that I came home. Well, back up. I am now glad I came home. My point is not to tell you that I was a good husband or I was a good dad or whatever else. It's not to gloat at all. What the point is to say sometimes submitting to the priorities we have set for ourselves in our life is not fun. It doesn't come with this awesome feeling. Like I had to work to this point to be okay with me leaving that game that was 7 overtimes and making Aggie history. So what I wanted to kind of encourage you with is submit to your priorities and stick with it because it's worth it. Because after I got home and after, I got to analyze this whole situation, being home and being there to help set up for the event the next day was great. Having our kids not be in bad moods because they were tired was awesome. All these different things that happened because I submitted to my priorities with this small thing, all these other things fell into place. So I just want to encourage you that in your own life, when a time comes that you may think a small compromise on some of your priorities is worth it, I'm going to tell you that it wasn't. It would not have been worth it for me to stay and watch that 7 overtime game. And even as I say that out loud and try to make that my reality, I don't know that I believe it because I still wanted to have this experience that I won't ever get again. But I will tell you this, that my family and my home and the things that happened because I was able to come home are far greater than anything that I could have ever been able to just to tell a story that I was at some football game for 7 overtimes. So stick to your priorities, even when it's hard. You guys have a great day. As always, if I can do something for you on the mortgage side, please reach out. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys. What am I doing? What am I telling the story for?